Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of, oh, they're putting out new DC Animated Universe comic books, I guess we gotta cover them, the series. But it's not like it's a burden. Pointing out Easter eggs is becoming my second favorite hobby next to sleeping. This time we're starting off with Justice League Infinity, the new tie-in slash follow-up to Justice League Unlimited. Or I guess Justice League Unlimited was the follow-up to Justice League Unlimited. Is Infinity larger than Unlimited? Is that the implication here? I know last video I said we'd be combining coverage of this series and Batman The Adventures Continue into one video, but that's going to be a very long video, we realized. So instead you're going to be getting JL Infinity today and BTAC on Thursday. Half so I have more time to edit it, and half so I can use the
"because it's Thursday"
clip. Yes, that's right. We're going to
put it back.
Compared to how much news coverage Batman The Adventures Continue got before its release, Justice League Infinity almost came out of nowhere. We've even had a couple of you being like, huh, what is this? As recently as the last couple days. So in case this is news to you, go check out our speculation video from a few weeks back and get up to speed. So beginning with issue 1 of 7, The Cracked Mirror Part 1, let's jump on in with some DCAU references. J'onn J'onzz has been traveling the globe switching identities for a while. I guess that means he didn't stick to his persona and relationship in China. Maybe that lady passed away. Man, this is way too sad of a thing to start with. He also refers to himself as the so-called Martian Manhunter, a title which was actually only uttered once in the shows, in the episode Task Force X.
Then there's J'onn J'onzz, the Martian Manhunter.
I mean, I guess he was so-called by the Clock King of all people. The Flash is shown to be running with lightning at his back, something we've gone over in the past is a trait typically associated with speedsters who have access to the Speed Force. In JLU, Wally dealt with the Speed Force on one single occasion after running around the world multiple times in the blink of an eye, where he was seen surrounded by lightning. So does that mean he retained his connection to the Speed Force after that episode, Divided We Fall? Well, we don't see him with lightning in any episode of the final season, but this is years later. More on that in a bit. Maybe it just took some time to soak in, but I'm gonna say this is just probably an artistic rendering for Wally's speed powers, much like the way 90s era DCAU style coloring books depicted him and his sidekick Impulse. We get a nice little wink of Wonder Bat shipping during Flash's birthday party, as well as the continued friendship of Elongated Man and Green Lantern Booster Gold that was established in JLU's The Greatest Story Never Told. There's also a nod to the love triangle between Green Lantern, the actual one, Hawkgirl, and Vixen, with their overall feelings of jealousy, suspicion, and heartache seeming to all be relatively at the same levels we left them at in ancient history. There's a literal editor's note calling back to the events of the JLU finale Destroyer, with the Granny Goodness versus someone else for the throne theme carrying back to what we've already seen in Alive and The Ties That Bind, though I'm sure timeline-wise it goes all the way back to pretty shortly after Darkseid's death in Twilight. It's interesting that the editor felt the need to remind us they're talking about that JLU episode if you didn't get the reference. I mean, comic books do that kind of thing all the time, but we didn't get anything like that for, say, the flashback to Torch song in BTAC Season 1. Maybe Batman the Animated Series is expected to be more iconic and memorable in the minds of the readership. Maybe this moment in JL Infinity felt more deserving of the reminder. Maybe I'm thinking too hard about it. Big Barda yelling, "Leaguers, take cover!" and her and Mr. Miracle being there at all suggests in this context that they are now full-fledged members of the Justice League, as opposed to when we last saw them on screen.
I didn't even know they were in the league, but there's so many of us now, it's hard to...
No, they're not in the league. I'm sure of it.
Batman's dialogue soon after supports this as well, with, "I learned a long time ago never to argue with Big Barda." If they've been working together for a while now, it would also help justify Barda's familiarity with Bruce Wayne by the time of Batman Beyond. Oh, would you look at that? James Tucker confirmed they are indeed Leaguers now, along with Blue Beetle, who we're seeing in the DCAU for the first time since his appearances in the JLU tie-in comic. He was a Justice Leaguer there too, but those comics are pretty up in the air with their continuity connection to the cartoons, which I'm figuring out issue by issue on my Tuesday live streams, hint hint. We get a really nice action shot here of the original 7, minus J'onn of course. It's kind of weird to see a different 7th member missing this time. I'm used to it being the no Hawkgirl show. And speaking of her again, she seems to be wearing the same kind of casual outfit she wore in Wake the Dead or the end of Starcrossed, as opposed to either of her sweatsuit looking new superhero costumes. Though according to colorist Nick Filardi, we should be seeing her in costume soon enough. J'onn J'onzz being able to detect the League's fight across the world reminds me of his ability to feel Jon Stewart's feels from multiple planets away in Blackest Night, which I just brought up last week in our Miss Martian origin video, which you should go watch, it's not what you think. And the Superman-Lois dinner date at the end appears to be at Lois's apartment, a setting we've seen multiple times throughout Superman the Animated Series, though it's also a scene reminiscent of their bridgetop picnic in Question Authority, or Superman's nightmare sequence from Only a Dream, where he accidentally murders Lois and everyone else in the restaurant, which unfortunately is a little on the nose as the multiverse shards begin to leak cosmic vape juice into the time stream and Superman swaps with Overman. He's named this in the solicits for the next issue, though since I assume this is still an alternate universe version of Superman in this continuity, I'm gonna take a guess and say that this is the eventual outcome of the Superman we saw in the episode Brave New Metropolis, considering his costume and logo design are pretty similar. It would be a shame though, since that Superman seemed pretty redeemable and definitely wouldn't act like this to Lois Lane. But I guess we'll find out. Speaking of Overman, that's the perfect segue into Ted's section of the video. Comic book references.
Alright, so let's start at the beginning. Not page 1, but the cover. Justice League Infinity received 2 covers, with the variant cover B by Scott Hepburn and the main cover A by fan-fave artist Francis Manapul, who you might recognize from his covers on Batman Beyond during the DC Rebirth series. Manapul's design is very similar to the JLA #1 cover by Howard Porter, which launched Grant Morrison's run in 1997, as well as several promo images for the original anime series and a piece by Christopher Jones, which James greedily purchased only for himself at Emerald City Comic Con in 2019. Everybody loves a JL group shot though. Everybody, James. Get one for everybody next time. Now, on the first page, we meet the Najarans. Not a comic book reference at all, but a new alien species created by J.M. dematteis, as he confirmed to Maddie on social media. As Amazo smashes through the cracked mirror by breaching the mysterious door at the end of the universe, shards of glass shatter. These are similar design to what first occurred in Crisis on Infinite Earths #10, after the battle between the Spectre and Anti-Monitor merged the remaining worlds of the multiverse. We see the shards again in the Infinite Crisis sequel, when Superboy Prime punched the walls of the pocket dimension where he was trapped, literally punching history, which caused ripples that changed DC continuity. We've seen more shards like this in the New 52's Superman Doomed, which led into the Convergence miniseries, as well as a double-page spread in Greg Rucka's Wonder Woman The Lies storyline. The Wally West feature story from Generation Zero, which spun out of Flash Forward, also included these shards, and surely several other instances in other books that I've overlooked, because it's sort of become a recurring thing in DC Comics. When the Flash runs through the Metro Tower on the way to his party, he tries to pep himself up with a "Run Flash Run" moment that is definitely similar to all the "Run Barry Run" lines from the CW's The Flash TV series, which in itself is a reference to "Run Forrest Run" from Tom Hanks' Oscar-winning role as Forrest Gump. Is that a comic book reference? No, but whatever. Let me know if you can find an instance of that in the comics, because I couldn't. Batman tells the Flash, "For the record, I hate birthdays." But in Con Edison Presents Energy and Safety Adventures with Green Lantern and Friends from 2007, he clearly happily surprises Green Lantern for his birthday. Batman also joined Wonder Woman to celebrate Superman's birthday in JLU's For the Man Who Has Everything. So maybe he just hates the Flash or something.
I mean, I don't think he likes me very much.
That's not helping.
Wally West's birthday falls on January 16th, which naturally makes him a Capricorn, according to the 1976 Super DC calendar, which to be fair is from the pre-crisis timeline of Earth 1, which means it might not apply for this continuity. Ted Kord's Blue Beetle also had fun dialogue moments, which called back to the friendships he established in the Justice League International comics with Booster Gold and the Elongated Man. Along with Fire, Ice, and Mr. Miracle prominently featured in the issue, there are plenty of callbacks to the classic series. Naturally so, since JL Infinity co-writer J.M. dematteis wrote dialogue over Keith Giffen's plots on the original Justice League International series, and coincidentally, both series are abbreviated as JLI. The forces of Apocalypse invade the Metro Tower, and Granny Goodness arrives with a horde of parademons, but when Calibac booms into the fray 4 pages later, he is backed by the Underlings, who last had a brief DCAU appearance in Superman Adventures #66, the final issue of the series, but were first introduced in Jack Kirby's The New Gods #1 as servants of Apocalypse, nurtured in war and savage in battle, known by Orion as the Underlings they are. Lastly, the alternate universe Superman on the final page is referred to as Overman in upcoming solicitations, and visually based on Overman's comic book look. The character was created by Grant Morrison and first appeared as a cameo in 52 #52, before he was further developed in Final Crisis Superman Beyond, Multiversity, and further appearances from his fascist parallel world of Earth 10, where Hitler and the Axis powers won World War II. That's all I got. This series is called Infinity, but that doesn't mean my segment goes on forever.
Thanks, Ted. And now, since I'm sure you're wondering when this comic takes place in the grand scheme of the DCAU timeline, here's Maddie with Timeline Stuff!
Ciao. Holy crap. It's almost like this comic was made specifically for me. Not only is it a return to Justice League Unlimited, but the book literally begins with not one, but two non-binary characters in the agender Amazo and gender fluid J'onn J'onzz just days after we post my coming out video. Links up there if you missed it. I think this is the right side of the screen. Between that and finally canonizing my Justice League International inspired action figure set from Mattel's Justice League Unlimited line, it's almost like dematteis and Tucker are living inside of my head and directly pulling inspiration from there. Of course, that means we have some timeline stuff to sift through. You were supposed to catch it. One question I've seen raised a ton revolves around Amazo's motives in this story. While it's made clear that we're after Justice League Unlimited's finale, the android's dialogue is reminiscent of plot points from The Return, in that Amazo seems to still be looking for their purpose. Given that this motive was dropped in their later appearance, Wake the Dead, it's easy to assume that Dr. Fate's offer to assist on that journey was resolved off screen, but that seems to not be the case. However, further confusion arises when considering Amazo's final appearance led to them searching space for a way to defeat Grundy, and then never returning ever again. Perhaps as an android built to absorb power, these goals are parallel, or it's possible that enough time has passed in-universe that we just have to chalk up the resolution of that quest as an adventure we'll never get closure for. And speaking of time passing, while we don't have much to place exactly when this book takes place, unless you want to go off of Superman and Lois totally being on a date and assume this places us near their upcoming engagement as mentioned in Superman Adventures number 64, set 30 years before the end of Batman Beyond, which we've previously established to be 2042, and thus that would be 2012.
Take that as a yes.
J'onn does specifically mention that they've been spending years crossing oceans and continents, presumably since leaving the League into another shore, which we've previously locked in as occurring during spring of 2004 on the DCAU timeline. This means, at the absolute earliest, we'd now be in the DCAU's 2006, and Justice League Infinity is the furthest out point on the timeline before we start getting into Batman Beyond territory, somewhere between where we've been able to place Justice League versus the Fatal Five and the flashback sequence from Return of the Joker, though it could hypothetically be even later. Only time will tell. And just for good measure before I go, NB Rep in JLI, NB Rep in JLI, NB Rep in JLI, NB Rep in JLI. I'm about to shove this down your throat like my name is Ink and yours is Terry McGinnis.
Which seems sexually charged to me. I don't know.
Other/miscellaneous. One of the poses Superman takes during the Metro Tower battle was shown off in an early sketch on artist Ethen Beaver's Instagram a few weeks ago, albeit with his classic JL Season 1 cheekbones originally, along with these other rougher practice sketches that don't seem to have made the cut, unless they're for later issues. Wait, Supergirl? And the topsy-turvy psychedelic craziness that Amazo flies through in the opening sequence is pretty similar to some old Steve Ditko Doctor Strange stuff, which was also the influence for the world of Cthulhu, the definitely not Cthulhu tentacle monster featured in The Terror Beyond, which we also might see peeking through a portal here? Either that or this is the futuristic squid robot monster from Picard. Remember Picard? No, maybe for the best. But additionally, the big gray door that Amazo travels through is reminiscent of the opening of The Twilight Zone.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination.
And also visually similar to the gateway to truth from Full Metal Alchemist. Though that's probably not a purposeful reference, I'm just a big ol' nerd! Conclusion! This thing is beautiful. Ethen Beaver's art is fantastic and on point as always. The dude was artist on a few of the old JLU comics, as well as several of the DCAU-style capstone books from the last few years, which, psst, you can find a full list of compiled by yours truly at bit.ly/DCAU books. Ethen really has an eye for the Bruce Timm animated style, and combined with Nick Filardi's brilliant coloring work, this comic is really going to stand the test of time among among all its other DCAU tie-in brethren. Watch out, Ty and Monica, you've got competition. The writing is also pretty frickin' good in this. J.M. DeMatteis is writing a very mature DCAU book, and I love it. I mean, mature in terms of sticking to the tone of Justice League Unlimited. I'm very aware that there's a subplot of elongated man in Booster Gold trying to eat cake the whole time. DeMatteis and James Tucker have also talked about this story taking cues from Tucker & Co.'s old JLU Season 4 proposed plans, which included one-off stories across time and space, visiting all sorts of different characters and worlds. Tucker even mentioned in a CBR article recently that they're only including things in this comic that they would have included in JLU, rather than some of the more abnormal concepts the older tie-in comics tackled, stuff that didn't always quite fit in the world they were building in animation. This is the next season of the show as far as I'm concerned. Still gunning for that jail reunion movie, but this is a nice appetizer. It feels like the show, which I'm sure is helped by all the callbacks to JLU story beats in this first issue. They get you in the right mood before pulling the rug out. I seriously can't wait to see what happens next. Presenting the multiverse in this way is also a really cool, fresh approach. Rather than the League just like flying through portals or whatever to visit other universes, the universes come to them. I'm looking forward to seeing who else gets swapped, or maybe it'll just be endless versions of Superman. It's not Justice League Infinity, it's just Superman Infinity. The cover for issue 3 is the coolest thing I've ever seen, and it has a bunch of parallel universe doppelgangers, so here's hoping. Not to make another Captain Picard reference, but this feels very much like the Star Trek The Next Generation episode Parallels.
Mr. Worf does not belong in our universe.
And J.M. DeMatteis has written some multiverse-centric Star Trek comics, so that's it for this video. Like I said up top, our coverage for Batman The Adventures Continue will be coming Thursday, where we'll be going through all the Easter eggs for issue number 2, Part 2 of Court Fight. So be sure you're subscribed so you can catch that video, because it's also when I'll be announcing the winner for our BTAC Season 1 trade paperback giveaway, and announcing the next giveaway. Thanks to everyone whose names you see scrolling by here for their support on Patreon. Head over to patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower to check out all the cool rewards you can get for helping us out. Okay, I've got to record the BTAC half of this. Get out of here. Leave me alone.